Hello friends, welcome to Cloud Pedagogy Hands-on Lab. And in this lab, we are going to be getting our hands on with AWS managed policies, custom policies and inline policies as well. An AWS managed policy is a standalone policy that is created and administered by AWS. Whereas customer managed policy is a standalone policy that you administer in your own AWS account. On the other side, an inline policy is a policy that is embedded in an IAM identity, like a user, group, or even a role. So if you are ready, you can follow along with me and we will do everything together by starting with our task. So first of all, we will be creating a few users in IAM and these users are Resh, Kins and Rohi. Next thing, we will be creating a customer managed policy with read-only access to EC2 instances and we will attach the customer managed policy to the user Resh. Next thing, we are going to be attaching AWS managed policy to another user called Kins and it's going to be the AWS S3 full access policy. And then we will be creating a new inline policy which is going to be attached to user Rohi. Finally, we will see if we can cross-attach our policies to these users in between. For example, we can try to attach inline policy to Kins as well. So what do you think is going to happen? Do you think we will be able to or not? Well, if you don't know the answer now, then we are going to find out in a few minutes in the lab. So we'll start with the task 1, create IAM users. Let's first create a few users to test our policies on them. Here I am creating 3 users called Resh, Kins and Rohi without any permissions attached to them. These are the users that we are going to be attaching our identity and access management policies to. So we are going to log into the AWS console, select IAM, which is Identity and Access Management. In the side navigation bar, select Users and then click Create User. Let's add our first user, Resh. I'm not adding any permissions to this user. Let's click Create User. Good, one user is created. Likewise, I'm creating other 2 users for Kins and Rohi. Here you can see 3 users that we are working around with the policies. Good job. Now our 3 users are created without any permissions that are attached to them. In task 2, we are going to create customer manage policy and then attach to the user. So in this task, we will attach the customer managed policy to Resh. So let's create our first customer managed policy. So we will head over to policies and then click create policy. Select choose a service and we are going to create a policy allowing read-only access to EC2. So search for EC2 and then select that. And we want to add read-only access. So select read. Under resources, select all resources. Next, we will call it up CP customer managed policy and then scroll down and click create policy. And that is our customer managed policy created. If we filter on policies with CP dash and there is our policy called CP customer managed policy. The next thing we are going to do is attach this policy to our user Resh. So select your policy, then come to entities attached tab. And we want to attach this policy to our user Resh. So hit attach, select our user Resh and attach policy. Good job, we have created a customer managed policy with read-only access to EC2 instance. Also, we have attached it to the user called Resh. So in the next task, we are going to attach AWS managed policy. So now the next thing we are going to do is attach an AWS managed policy to one of our other users. So if we head back to policies and we are going to search for Amazon S3 full access policy. So if we search for S3 in the list below, select the radio button next to the Amazon S3 full access policy, come to the policy actions and select attach. And we are going to attach to our user KINs. So select KINs and attach policy. Let's go back to the policy and check whether KINs is added or not. Let's open Amazon S3 full access policy and click on the entities attached tab. Here you can see KINs is attached to this policy. Good work. We have attached an AWS managed policy to a user called KINs, and it is Amazon S3 full access policy. In the next task, we are going to create an inline policy and then attach to the user. In this task, we are going to create a new inline policy which is going to be attached to Rohi user. And to do that, we need to go into the user that we are going to attach the policy to. So select users, select our user Rohi here. This is where you will see the option to add an inline policy. So select that, choose a service, and we are going to add an inline policy for Lambda read-only access permission. So search for Lambda and then select that. Select read, scroll down to the resources and we'll select all resources. Click next and review the policy. I'm going to name my policy CP My Inline Policy and then click Create Policy. So that's our inline policy created, and we can see that it is attached to our user Rohi up here. Good work. We have created a new inline policy and attached a user called Rohi. In the final task, we are going to test policies across different users. Next thing, we will attach our customer managed policy to KINs. So she will have two policies attached, and notice that you can attach this customer managed policy to more than one user. So now let's see if we can attach our managed policy and our inline policy to KINs. So let's come over to the users. We can select KINs and we can add permissions here. So select add permissions, attach existing policies directly. If we filter on customer managed policy which we have created, CP hash, so select customer managed policy here and then click next. In the permissions, now we can see KIN has two policies attached directly. So she got the AWS managed policy and our customer managed policy that we created just a minute ago. So now let's see if we can attach the inline policy as well. And if we select add inline policy here, it's asking us to create a new one. Of course, I'm not interested in creating a new one, so hit cancel. And let's go back to our user Rohi and select our inline policy, and let's see if we can attach this. Well, if we select the policy, it just gives us the information about the policy, and we can't actually select it and attach it to another user. And that's because an inline policy is actually embedded within the user group or role to which it is attached. So it's embedded within our user Rohi, and we can't select it and try to attach it to another user. And that is a really important distinction to understand, because AWS managed policies and customer managed policies are reusable. And that means that you can attach them to as many as users you like. Whereas inline policies are not reusable. They have a strict one-to-one relationship between the policy and the user group or role to which the policy is attached. So the policy is a part of the user and we can't attach it to another user. And you might be wondering, when would I even use an inline policy if it is so restrictive, isn't it? So, well, in most cases, they do recommend that you use a managed policy such as an AWS managed policy or a customer managed policy. However, if you have specific requirements where you need to be sure that a set of permissions are only ever applied to a specific user, group or role, and that they can never be accidentally applied to another user, then an inline policy is the one to use. Good work. Now you know how and when to attach these different types of IAM policies to the users. Congratulations! In this lab, we have explored and worked with the different types of IAM policies available, like AWS managed policies, customer managed policies, and inline policies. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next time. Until then, keep learning and have fun.